Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode in Career Services Connecting Keelhaulers series. Today, we are joined by several of our Shoreside engineers from both the mechanical engineering and facilities engineering departments. We have Shin, an unlicensed mechanical engineer on the call, Colin Powers, another unlicensed mechanical engineer, and Yaoyao Wolansky, a facilities engineer. Cadets, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you,
for
Ryan.
having us.
Thank you.
Of course. So Yaoyao, we'll start with you and we'll just kind of run this question around to everybody, but where did you intern? What was your title and how did you secure your internship?
So this past summer, I interned with Genentech. My title was their facilities operations and maintenance intern, and I secured the internship by actually asking a friend if he could refer me for the job because he was actually interning for them currently, and they were looking for another intern for the following summer. And so I asked him to send in a good word into his manager for me, and he did that. And then the manager reached out to me, asked for an interview, and then a couple months later offered me a position at their job.
Nice. And were you at the South San Francisco facility?
Yeah, the South San Francisco location.
Cool. Kenny, what about you?
Yeah, so I interned at Northrop Grumman this past summer. Their facilities was located in Space Park. The position I held,
which is where?
Is in Redondo Beach. Yeah, and the position I held was a facilities intern, which isn't a mechanical intern, but I would say the roles I had, which I'll talk about later, was pretty similar. And I secured the internship through Keelhauler Connect, but I also had a referral from a friend at school and also an alumni from the class of 2020. And so, yeah.
Nice. And Colin, what about you?
I did my internship at BAE Systems in San Diego, and they came to the career fair thing like through Zoom. And then from there, I applied on their website, and I knew someone that was currently working for them, and then they put in a good word. And after a couple more Zoom interviews, I got the job.
Nice. So as we can all see after the GSMA one too last week, connections. Network, talk to your friends on campus and stuff for sure. So Colin, we'll stick with you to for this second question. What was your schedule like, both how many hours kind of you were working in a day, in a week? Were you Monday through Friday or different types of schedules?
So they required Monday through Friday from about 5:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. But a lot of the work, like I had a meeting at 2:30 every day, so I usually work like at least 10-hour shifts. And then Saturdays were also welcome to come in. There's always a lot of work to do, so they let you work as much as possible. So my normal day was probably like 5:30 to about 4, and then like 8 to 12 on weekends, like Saturday. So there's like 55 hours a week.
You getting overtime for that?
Yeah, they do give you overtime, and then if you reach 10 hours of overtime, they gave me double pay. So they're very generous.
Nice. What was your work schedule like?
Well, unlike Colin, I didn't get any overtime. So mine was the traditional 40 hours a week. And mine was also online. So it was a little bit of both. It was a little bit of in-person, going on campus work, and just regular online work. So I found myself going onto campus 2 to 3 times a week, and then the rest of the days working from home, just doing computer work, doing Zoom meetings, and just sending a lot of emails back and forth. And then when I was on campus, I did have like a physical on-campus project that I work on every single day. Okay. So typically I would get on campus at around 7:30 and then leave by 3.
Nice. And Mr. Shin, what about yourself?
So we worked the 980 schedule at Northrop Grumman, which is 9 days on and 80 hours total. So for the first week, we'd work from Monday to Friday, but we would work from 7 a.m. to 4:30. And then, so the first week we would work, I think 9 times 5, 45 hours, right?
Engineer, you should be able to do that easily.
Yeah, I can't remember. But like the first week you work this amount of hours. But in the second week we work the rest of the hours until we hit 80 hours, if that makes sense.
And then you got every other Friday off?
Yes, every other Friday off, which means that we had 3-day weekends every other week. And so, yeah, I mean, and mine was all in person. We didn't have the chance or the choice to go virtual for our company because they required us to be there, at least for interns. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Gotcha. All right. All right. So Kenny, we'll stick with you then on
Okay.
this one. What were some of the typical tasks that you had throughout your internship? And were you doing lots of little projects, or did you end up working on kind of several just bigger ones?
Yeah, so initially they had us shadow them, like the engineers there. They would have me and the other interns shadow them for the beginning couple weeks. So any design build or projects they had going on, we'd come with them and observe how they do their job. We'd ask them questions and learn from them as they worked. And then once we got to the halfway point, we were assigned a bigger project where we would spend most of our time on. And so for me, that was doing a lockout tagout procedure for all of the machines on campus. And I'd say for the rest of the internship, that's where I focused most of my time on. I'd go to meetings, I'd be the point of contact for everyone involved. I'd have to send emails, make Excel sheets, just a lot of the little kind of things I have to do. I wouldn't say I had a big responsibility in it though, because since it was a big project, they wouldn't want the intern to be
That
in
much
control of
responsibility.
that much responsibility. Yeah, because it's a lot of money involved. But I would be working with my mentor engineer this whole time, and any paper or any Excel sheet or email I'd send, she'd review it to make sure it was good. So yeah.
All right, cool. Colin, what about you? What was some typical tasks, and then were they more little projects or some bigger long-term ones?
So same with Kenny. It started off kind of just following the guy in front of me, the real superintendent for the ship, and that would be like a lot of meetings, a lot of updating presentations and PowerPoints to correctly display how much progress has been made on like our work items and stuff like that. But about a month into it, it became very my own thing. I do it. It's my responsibility, and I could turn to them whenever I needed to. So I had things where I'd have to find some equipment, get it shipped, transported, see who it belongs to, see who needs to sign off on it, and kind of deal with that. And then as well as ensure each individual compartment on the ship would get completely all its work finished. And if everything was not finished, I would have to find the trades to do it and the Navy personnel to accompany us in being in secret compartments and stuff like that. So it was cool.
Gotcha. And you, what about you?
Yeah, for me, my project started off pretty small, not terribly difficult, but as time went on, they trusted me more with larger projects. And so the last project that I was working on was actually installing leak detectors, because on campus they're noticing that there were a lot of leaks and they weren't able to catch them quickly enough. And if you let a leak get too big, that's them actually losing a lot of money, because ultimately you do damage equipment. And so like the last couple of weeks of my internship, I actually went in, installed leak detectors, I troubleshooted them, and I created like an Excel sheet to keep managing how they're doing. And then later on, the project is to ideally be able to have, when the leak detector goes off, I'll send a notification to a specified technician who can then go into the building itself and figure out why there's a leak to begin with.
Gotcha. So I think that's good to hear for interns, that all you guys kind of were brought along slowly. And then after you kind of show that you get the ropes, allow you to kind of take some more control. Because a lot of times we talk with potential interns in here and they're like, they're going to ask me to do all this crazy stuff and I'm not going to know what to do. And so hearing it from cadets that they're not going to do that, I think it can be reassuring. You will stick with you then on this one here. So how have your studies so far at Cal Maritime, how did they prepare you for your internship with Genentech? Were there any particular courses that may stand out? And then also anything else, whether it be clubs, sports, the core, associations or stuff like that on campus that help prepare you?
Yeah, I would definitely say it dependent on the type of job that you have. For me, I've interned with 2 biotech companies now so far, and both of which I feel like Cal Maritime has prepared me for. And I wouldn't say any specific course, club, or activity prepared me for, but just the overall discipline that Cal Maritime puts onto the students. And I think it's also helpful that the companies that I've been working with have Cal Maritime alumni. And so they're really eager to help and are really good mentors, and they're really open to questions. So if I've learned anything, it's that don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to ask the stupid questions, because if they weren't willing to answer those stupid questions, then they wouldn't be taking on an intern, right? So it's definitely just a good stepping stone of what it's like to be in the industry, and just like making yourself comfortable with the people around you and like your own ability as like an engineer.
And I'll say on those stupid questions, yeah, they aren't most of them aren't stupid questions. And there is actually a survey of a lot of employers that take interns, and one of the main things they want college students to do more is be assertive when they're on the internship. So don't sit back and be like, oh, I don't really know what to do, and then not ask. They want you to ask so that you both can get it right and go from there. Because like you all mentioned too, you guys are working with some pretty big companies and dealing with lots of money, and big mistakes or even small mistakes end up costing them money. So Kenny, we'll go to you next, especially because you kind of had a different internship for a mechanical engineer. Anything at Cal Maritime that prepared you course-wise, and then also any extracurricular activities?
Yeah, so although I'm a mechanical engineer and I worked the facilities internship, I'd say a lot of the courses I took the past 2 years and also crews have definitely prepared me for this internship. So working with the big facility, we needed to know a lot of information about how a plant operates, how a plant should be set up, the kind of systems like refrigeration, or, with the chillers, the boilers, the pumps, what kind of pumps you would need, how much head. And also recently, my junior year, we would take classes about heat transfer and thermo. And I'd say those classes really helped me understand a lot about HVAC in general, because that's what I worked with a lot in this internship. And I want to say any extracurriculars really helped me or prepare me for this, besides maybe working with the WIN team and knowing that a lot of the alumni from the WIN team go out into these corporations. So I mean, like, one of the alumni from the WIN team was working with me at Northrop, and I guess having him there kind of prepared me because he can mentor me.
Give you some tips for this year too on the
Yeah,
WIN team.
yeah.
There you go.
But so yeah.
Nice. Colin, what about you?
Well, mine wasn't super engineering based either, like with any complex math or anything. But even though we're the option for license, being on cruise, like the familiarity with ships, because that's 100% what I worked on, was huge. Being able for them to just say a single frame and room number and just be able to navigate a ship to find it, that came in huge, because there was another intern with me, and it was at least like a 2-week behind just to start. And then but besides that, I think just having a bunch of courses at once and needing to keep yourself organized with, like, because at your point, you're going to be taking like 8-9 classes and 5 assignments per day, and being able to keep yourself organized was perfect for this job, because you'd really have like 13-15 tasks per day, and being able to make sure you get them all done was huge. So just the pressure the school puts on you puts you like really work prepared.
Yep, it's not always the bookwork that college is preparing you with. It's all the other stuff that goes into it, for sure. Kenny, we'll go to you on this next one. What were some things that you weren't prepared for that popped up on the internship, and how did you address them or handle them while you were on the job?
I would say one thing that I was not prepared for in this internship was knowing how to communicate professionally, through email or in person. I noticed that working, everyone sends emails in such a professional manner and in a specific way, Whereas when I was sending my emails, I wasn't sure if it would come out poorly. And so I would work for my mentor when sending out information or just general information to have her look over it and to set it up with me. And I can't really think of anything else besides that. I mean, I guess you have to know how to work as a team with other interns. It shouldn't be very competitive, I'd say. You know, on crews, you'd learn how to work as a team, right? Everyone's in it together. Everyone's starting off in this new place, not knowing what to do. So besides that, yeah, I just know how to communicate professionally. That was one thing I did not know how to do.
Well, good thing we get you an internship before you graduate then,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yu, what about you?
With Genentech being my second internship, I feel like I was a lot better prepared for this one. So there wasn't really anything specifically that I wasn't prepared for. But with my first internship, something that my manager gave me feedback on was that being more assertive is definitely something that I had to learn something. So like during my exit interview, he said, "Oh, you did overall, you did a good job, but we would have liked if you were more assertive." So that's definitely something I learned, just like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and just like, even if you're sitting there and doing nothing, the least they can do is at least ask to shadow a professional engineer. Even if you're not necessarily doing a physical task yourself, at least you're learning something while watching someone else do like an actual job. And then if they have the time, explain it to you while they're also doing the job themselves.
Take us away, Colin.
So the question was, what do you think you were unprepared for?
Yeah, pretty much. And then how'd you go about kind of addressing that?
So coming in, I felt like it went to a big company. I mean, just for BAEs itself, not including their subcontractors of the Navy, there's already 1,000 people there. So there's like 5,000 people in the little area. It's always busy. So coming from like a smaller campus, throwing it out there, took me like a day or two to kind of get situated with, how much busier it really is. But besides that, the second thing would be probably, because my internship was, they gave me almost like a management kind of job with a lot of the tradesmen, like electricians and welders and painters. So from going in, I wanted to be the guy to kind of just sit back and listen and learn, but I was forced to kind of be assertive, what you were saying, and just tell people, hey, this is what we need, and do it in a way where I don't sound like just this young kid bossing you around, but like, hey, this is something we need to work on. How can I help you? And it took me a couple of weeks to kind of just get in that you can talk to someone and you don't have to be business. You can just be like, hey, how you doing? And the next conversation, it's, oh, hey, I need this done. Like, how can we get it done? So I think that was a huge thing for me to kind of learn, to kind of separate, because even in work, you don't want it to just be work, kind of make it more evened out. And it was great. By the end of it, everything was smooth and friendly. It was nice.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point there, Colin, that communication's about relationship, like being able to just have a relationship and talk with someone as opposed to ordering them around all the time, definitely just allows the cohesive unit to work together, especially on huge projects, like you were. We'll bounce to you on this next question to start. What type of guidance or mentorship did Genentech provide? So I know you guys have kind of talked about that a little bit. Was there a formal kind of guidance and mentorship, or was it more of an informal process for you?
I would say it was more of an informal process, because the people that I work with, they're extremely busy. So right off the bat, they were heavily relying on me being able to handle most of the projects on my own. And so in terms of mentorship, if you want advice, you really have to like go and seek it. You can't just like sit there and wait for someone to just tell you or like give you feedback. Like for me, if I had questions or concerns, I had to either text, email, or even set up a meeting with my manager, because he can't read my mind, right? So we've been talking, like communication is really key, and just asking those questions and just taking some time to just sit down with your manager and ask for any advice that I had, or if he had any feedback for me.
Gotcha. Kenny, what about you? It kind of sounded like yours might have been a little bit more formal mentorship type stuff.
Yeah, so initially when I walked in, we were assigned a mentor for our internship. So within our team, there were about 5 engineers, 2 of which were Cal Maritime alum. And it seemed like almost everyone there was my mentor. There wasn't one specific person I would have to check in with and report to. I think that might have been what they're trying to set up the internship to be, but everyone was just so involved together and worked together on every project that we could just go and bounce around to whoever wasn't busy. And so having 2 Cal Maritime alum there, it seemed like that's who my mentors were to be from the start, just because we already had that connection of going to the same school. And already one of them was who I knew from the school and have worked with in the WIN team. And overall, they were very supportive being mentors. They understood that I was a different major, so this information wouldn't come or isn't something that I was so focused on at school. And also the manager was very supportive as well. He would check in with us once every 2 weeks just to make sure we were busy and we're doing okay. He'd answer any questions we had. He would work with me on any projects or little tasks I had if I needed help on. But yeah, it seems like it wasn't one just mentor, it was an overall group that would help us out.
Sweet. I was kind of the same. There wasn't one strict guy that I was supposed to report to. There were 2 people, both like my boss and his boss, and we were the 3 people working on the ship. So it was really like anything that happened, we just told each other. So we were all updated so we could take one person's job and then bring it onto mine and push something that was mine to theirs, because maybe they were still in the office and they could do like a presentation where I'm on the ship and I can check out a space to see if the work was done. So it was more like a working in cohesion. And at least for the second half. The first half, it was a lot of, what do you want me to do? I do it and I come back and I say I did it. And then he's like, okay, let's go check it out, you know. But yeah, by the second half, it was really just pinging ideas and jobs back and forth to see who can do it and when we can do it quickest.
Gotcha. Did they, for all 3 of you, did they do, whether it be kind of bi-weekly meetings like check-in or exit interview at the end to kind of go over your performance at the internship?
Yeah, for me, I had a meeting bi-weekly with my manager. He was mostly working from home and he wouldn't be in the office too much, but when he was in the office, he'd just come and say hi, ask us how we're doing. But formally, we would have bi-weekly meetings where we would just check in for half an hour. And then at the last week of my internship, we did have a little meeting where we sat down and talked about future opportunities there at Northrop and going over what I did this summer and how I did. And overall, he was very happy with me as an intern. And so, yeah, that's awesome.
And then for me, Genentech has been similar with my previous internship, where we have weekly meetings just to go over what I've been doing this week and what I hope to accomplish next week. And then at the end of the internship, there's an exit interview, same as Kenny says, like how did you do, any feedback, what you can improve on, what can we improve on for our internship experience, and then what you hope to do later on in your career. And if we have an opening, maybe we'll reach out to you and like have you come on as a full-time employee.
Nice.
And then for me, we didn't really have any formal meetings on my kind of like how I was doing. We had like every day we had a meeting with the government and the Navy along with BAE, in which everyone kind of said, well, this person was doing good here, or this work is completed. And then I would say what I did and what I noticed. But there was never a formal, hey, Colin, how did like this go? Or no exit interview. We just talked and hung out. So the questions came throughout the internship.
Gotcha. Yeah. Everyone has a little different way of going about it for sure. Colin, we'll stick with you to start this next one. What was some of the favorite things about the internship? And then what was maybe some of the not so favorite things?
My favorite thing was definitely the work environment. Like everything was different every day. Nothing was the same. There's always something new to do, always a new person to meet. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you come with just the chaos. And I just absolutely loved it. What I didn't love was waking up at like 4:40 to get to work at 5:20 to stay there till 4 o'clock. And then, but they paid well, so it made up for it. But I mean, you don't really get let's stay up to midnight, because then now you're getting 4 hours of sleep. So, but
That gets challenging.
yeah.
Definitely. Kenny, what about you?
So I would say the same thing as Colin. My favorite thing about the internship was the work environment, because the whole team was just super friendly. Everyone got along super well. They always included us interns and just treated us like, like we were just coworkers with them, a lot of times during work, it's funny because along with the professional work, they would have little breaks and chats, and we're all just in the office, like talking about stories and how work's going, or any little thing that's funny. And we'd always go out to lunch with them too in our lunch breaks. I would say one thing that wasn't my favorite part of the internship was sometimes not knowing what to do and not having any work, because our work was kind of based on what the engineers there didn't have time to do, or if they weren't busy, they would take us out. And when everyone was really busy and they're in their meetings and us interns just finish our tasks, there was a bit of uncertainty on, well, should we go out somewhere and like try to study, or should we stay in the office in case they come to us, or like should I just do some paperwork? So I would say that was a bit challenging sometimes, because I didn't want to feel like I'm wasting my time or wasting their time, or show no integrity in my job. But I think they understood that the interns didn't have much responsibility, and there will be times like that where it's okay to just do whatever for a little bit until they can get to us. So yeah.
Gotcha. That ambiguity was a little bit challenging for you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Gotcha. You, what about yourself?
Yeah, so same as Kenny and Colin, I really enjoyed the work environment. I really enjoyed the tasks that were assigned to me, the people and departments that I worked with. And then I specifically really liked being able to work with other engineering interns, because not only was that a networking opportunity for me, but it gave me a social life at work. And then it also gave me the opportunity to just like work with fellow interns who aren't from Cal Maritime. And it allowed me to see how, from their perspective, how they think as an engineer. And even like beyond the internship, I now know people from other universities who will be graduating soon. And then later on in life, if I keep up a connection with them, maybe one day they might have a job opening up and they could say, hey, you, like, I think you'd be perfect for this job. You should apply. And then that could be an opportunity later on. So I really enjoyed that, being able to like casually network and then just like meet new people. And then something I didn't like was that my internship was also partially remote. So sometimes I would be working from home, and then at least for me, working from home did get a bit boring. And then I did notice that working from home, I was significantly less productive. So I tried my best to go into the office as much as possible, because being in my room, there's a bed like 3 feet away from me. So after every meeting, I would just like find myself taking a nap in between.
Yeah, no, as someone who worked from home for the first time ever last year during that last school year, I could attest it is some people can do it and are a little bit more built for it, and other people are, it's like being in the office definitely helps that productivity. Sounds like all three of you guys are going to have to find a company that has a good environment, but you guys are totally right about that. Is like, it's more than just the work that you're doing. It's the people that you work with that help pass the day. Cause we always end up with, like Colin would have, long days or tedious projects that we have to do. And, being able to work cohesively with your coworkers through the more challenging times definitely does help. Kenny, we'll go to you on this one. How do you see this internship maybe fitting into your broader career goals And again, I know it's kind of a facilities one over your mechanical engineering degree, but even if it's just certain aspects of it that you can kind of take with you going into the future.
That's a good question. So I'm not very sure if I'll stick with Northrop in the future, but I can, or I mean, I should say specifically the facilities team, but I can say that I could see myself working there in other departments that would be more affiliated with my major, and the work I would do would be more correlated into the design field. What I can take away from this internship is that I've learned what it's like in the professional industry, and that my expectations of it were totally different from what I experienced, in the sense where everyone's scary and mean and they're super smarter than me and I don't know anything. Everyone just as friendly as you think. The work they do isn't so hard. It's not like rocket science. If you can just work with them and learn from them, then you could be them in a year. And one thing they taught me was that most of what you learn in your job is what you do in your job. Or I don't know how the saying goes, but it's like what you learn in school helps, but what you do in your job is how you'll learn how to do the job, if that makes sense. I think I got that.
Yeah, no, and I've heard that from, it's like school's the foundation. So you
Right.
have some building blocks, but you learn about the job once you get there, and they'll teach you the ins and outs of how they do things and so on and so forth. So yeah, I think that is astute. And yeah, part of internships is just breaking down the veneer and the scariness of the unknown. And like, oh yeah, these are, real people. They just have a degree and have been working here for a little bit longer, but they're not, they're not really any different than me, just a little bit older.
Right.
What about you? You've been with 2 biopharmaceuticals now. So is that kind of the path that you're looking to go?
Yeah, definitely. I'm hoping that after I graduate, I'll, if not work for biopharmaceuticals, at least somewhere in the biotech industry, just because I really enjoyed my experiences so far in the industry. Everyone that I've worked with has been really great. I see that being as part of something that I'll do in my career. I don't know if I'll stick with it until like retirement, but at least a couple of years after I graduate, it's definitely something that I've learned to really enjoy, because before going into these internships, I thought, oh, I'd really like to work in a hospital. But after speaking with some people who have worked in hospitals, they said, oh, it's nice, but it does get boring. Like you can only do so many specific jobs versus being in a larger company with so many different departments and fields and like even more machinery. I feel like it's a little bit more interesting than a hospital, because a lot of things with hospitals is that you find yourself just fixing air conditioning units. And so it does get a bit mind numbing. So I'm glad that the companies I have chosen haven't made me feel like burnt out or tired at all.
Definitely. Colin, what about yourself?
So for my internship, it really wasn't engineering specific. It was just using critical thinking, problem solving, something like an engineer would have. So as much as I loved the job and I would definitely work there, I almost want to just get a year or two of some other job in which I'm using my degree specifically, something like what they just did. But yeah, I'm really not sold on anything yet. So if I find an engineering thing, I'll do it. If not, BAE systems, like 10 out of 10. I'm okay with it. Yeah.
It was a good place to work, but maybe not at this point what exactly you would want to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. That's fine. That's part of what the internship experience is about. I mean, Yu was just saying too, she thought she wanted to work in hospitals, and after working in some different sectors, it's like, I think this is more what I'm looking for. So it is that learning experience too, of just figuring out there's so much stuff out there to do. How are you supposed to know without starting to sample and experience those different opportunities? With that, all right, we're down to our last question. So you guys got to dispense some great knowledge for underclassmen cadets here. So what is just some overall advice you would give looking back on your internships? And it can be on the job, it can be going through the process of securing an internship, things of that, but just any advice that you would give. And we'll start with you.
I would say networking is really important, even if it's just with your fellow students, because had I not kept in contact with one of my friends, he wouldn't have told me about the internship with genetics. So definitely just getting to know someone enough where you feel like they could be comfortable and like sharing a job with you, or just like basically just keeping a good relationship with people. Like don't burn a bridge too soon. And I would also say don't get discouraged when applying for internships, because I will say this without like any fail, but I applied to like 10 plus internships, all of which ended up denying me. And it's definitely really difficult to want to continue applying when you think you'll just get rejected anyways. But eventually there will be a company out there who is looking for something that you're able to offer on your resume, and odds are that will be the internship that you will end up loving, because if the internship that you're looking forward to the most wasn't ready for you at the time, hopefully in a couple of years they'll be ready to give you an actual job. It just wasn't the right time for you, and then after those couple of years you will be able to have an even stronger resume than you did before.
Definitely, failures is not always a reflection on yourself when going through the job process. Remember, there's tons of candidates out there that are also good. I mean, you all worked with different interns that you saw them doing a good job as well. So it's not always about you, just might not be the right time for that spot for you. Colin, what about you? Any advice on younger cadets?
Everything you just said, the networking, the keeping close with your friends. Because yeah, I had a friend that graduated a year before who was working in the same office next to the person who was interviewing me at the time. So I said out their name and they were like, oh, do you know this person? Right next to him. And she goes, oh yeah, of course, that's Colin. So just keeping your connections from Cal Maritime, like that is huge. If you know someone in Cal Maritime, they're going to look out for you. And I think that's huge. Another thing was being confident. Right when I walked in, they really pushed that on you. They said, like, we picked you because we wanted you. So, like, be confident. You earned this position, now act like it, You don't have to be some person hiding in the shadows waiting for this and this. And so right when I turned on that, I'm like, like you are right. Like I'll take some ownership, I'll take some responsibility, and I'll say it, clearly. Everything opened up. Everything became smoother. Everyone, if I talked, they listened to me, and vice versa. Respect was given and respect was earned, and it was huge. So just come in with the right mentality and you'll be fine.
Well said. Confident, humble, but confident. You earn that respect, but you also have confidence in your abilities. Kenny, close us out.
Yeah, of course, what you and Colin said, I think those are two very good points, is to be confident and make connections. I can say that for my internship this past summer, I met a bunch of coworkers there from different parts in Northrop, and talking to them or just hearing about their position and giving them my name and having these short conversations might help in the future. And if I see them in the future, they might test for me. Or, and also what Colin said, keeping your connections from Cal Maritime, knowing one of the alumni from Maritime and having him work there, I'm pretty sure he gave the good word to the manager and said, oh yeah, I know Kenny, he's a pretty cool guy. And I'd say one advice I'd give to the underclassmen is to, when you are at your internship, is to just be yourself and don't try to be someone you're not. Like, don't try to act like you know everything, or you understand something when you don't. Like, be who you are. If you don't know what you're doing, ask help, but also like be professional as well. Like if you're kind of goofy like I am and say dumb things, you don't want to do that your first week there, because they might not like you. But over time, like, shine. But yeah,
Read the lay of the land first before you start making comments, Kenny. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Nice. And actually, one last thing that I'll say that I like that all you guys touched on is utilizing talking to different departments as well, because it might not always be, just making those connections and hearing what else that company has to offer, other people's experiences, and maybe a different department would be kind of more the one that's your speed at that company, and by branching out just outside of your immediate realm is good as well. But with that, thank you all three of you very much for hopping on. I think it's going to be great for our cadets to hear about just some different opportunities and what different companies have to offer. So thank you very much for taking some time out of your day today.
Thanks for the
Great, thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you, Ryan. Have a good day.
You too,
Let's
guys.
go.